Silent, black, cold, painful. Rosa regained consciousness bit by bit. And the first thing she thought was that it would have been better if she hadn't. After all, her body was so cold and hurt so much, and it became worse the more her consciousness returned. It felt like she had been sleeping in the darkness for a long time now, face down on ice-cold marble. This is why I always tell myself, even if it's just a nap, at least get on a sofa. I always know that if I naively try and close my eyes for just a second, and end up sleeping on the floor or at my desk, it'll hurt my body later, and I'll suffer for it. Because she slept on such a cold and hard floor, she was chilled to the bone. Because she slept on such a hard and cold floor, the side of her face that had been pressing down against it was very painful. If she were to look in a mirror right now, she was sure she would see an embarrassing mark. She didn't think that just rubbing it would make that mark disappear. But she stroked the hurting side of her face for the time being, trying to smooth it over. Is this? Oh, she's in the meta. Huh. Is she gonna get tortured by Beatrice again? Where is this? She thought it was pitch black, but that appeared not to be the case. After all, she could faintly see her own body. Without a doubt, there was some source of light. But even when she looked up at the ceiling, or else the sky, there was only an expanse of blackness, and she couldn't see any such thing. Her body alone was slightly lit, whereas everything else was sunk in darkness. That's what this world was like. It was almost as though Rosa alone had been abandoned in a forgotten world. As her mind grew clearer, she started getting nervous about why she was all alone in a lonely place like this. When she was about to call out, asking if anyone was there, Hatter, she heard footsteps coming towards her. They were light footsteps, so she thought it was probably a kid. They didn't feel creepy to her, so she wasn't afraid. But they also weren't Maria's footsteps. So, wondering who in the world would be in a darkness like this, she stared in the direction she could hear the footsteps from. As she did, a faint, approaching silhouette came into view. Saktaro. It looked like a child much younger than Maria. Who is that? I didn't know him. But the expression on his face was like a lost child, separated from his parents. As a parent with a daughter myself, I felt as though my chest was being torn apart.
Uryu.
Sorry, I got a little scared by the noise for a second. The instant the child muttered that infantile word, I felt a sharp pain in that half of my face that was aching from the cold floor, as though it had been pierced by long, thin, hard needles. Wait, the half of your face that's on the floor, is that the part of your face that was shot off? Huh. I reflexively pressed my hand against that side of my face.
大丈夫？まだ痛い？ありがとう、僕。ここはどこ？すごく寒いわ。 こっちへ来て。ここにいちゃいけない。
He took my other hand and pulled, with a grim expression on his face. I don't have a clue what's going on. However, a single, honest expression from a child can often tell the truth better than 100 empty words from an adult. She didn't understand the situation, but even so, Rosa dashed along with him wherever she was pulled. However, this was a world where nothing could be seen in the darkness except for their own forms. She couldn't even really feel whether she was actually moving forwards as she ran. Even though I'm running, I can't even feel any wind. It's as though I'm still inside a nightmare. That kind of unreal feeling. Nope. So even though I was running, I couldn't maintain my sense of balance, and my legs got tangled and I fell. Even in a world that didn't feel real, the pain of smashing my face against the cold, hard floor was reality itself.
ウリュウ、大丈夫？
Wait, isn't that the one door that Angie was watching things through earlier? Huh. Oh.
ごめんなさいね。頭が痛むの。
When he said that infantile word for you, pain like being stuck with needles ran through my head again. Even though it had only happened twice, I was somehow able to understand his word was the cause of my pain. So I said so frankly.
ごめんなさい。その、ウリュウという口癖をやめてもらえる？ウリュウ。
First response.
ちょっと、やめてって言ってるでしょ。ごめんなさい。
Oh. This time, I got the feeling that his words of apology made me feel a sharp pain in my forehead. What is this child? I know there's no mouse in him, but when I'm around him, my head hurts.
大丈夫？早く行こう。ここは行っちゃダメ。どうしてここに行っちゃダメなの？ねえ、ここはどこ？
Wait, is Taro trying to get her away from Beatrice? Huh.
あなたは誰？
Or is he bringing her to Beatrice? Huh. I think he might be trying to get Rosa away from Beatrice. Maybe.
あなたのママはどこ？僕を作ってくれたのはママだよ。
He stared at me with round eyes. This kid's mama? Is me? Who is he? Who is this kid? I don't remember at all.
僕のこと忘れちゃった。ママが僕を作ったんだよ。ちょっと冗談はやめて。私の子供はマリアだけよ。そう。マリアはどこ？マリアはどこなの？マリア！
I suddenly grew uneasy about Maria not being there. Why am I all alone in a place like this? Where's Maria? Maria being there for me is the only thing that keeps me together.
マリアはいるけど、今はマリアじゃない。今は会わない方がいいの。その方がママのためだし、マリアのためなの。
It might not be Beatrice who's going to torture Rosa. It might be Maria who's going to torture Rosa. Because she tore apart Saktaro, the witch Maria might go after her mother for revenge. I think that might be what's going on here.
マリアのためにも逃げて。
何を言ってるの？マリアはどこ？マリア！返事をして！
マリアに見つかっちゃう。早くこっちに来て、ママ。
He pulled my hand again. He was probably pulling me in the opposite direction from Maria. So I stopped my tracks.
話してよ。大体あなたは誰よ？あなたにママなんて言われる覚えはないわよ。
僕を作ってくれたのはママだよ。忘れちゃったの？マリアのバースデープレゼントにするために僕を手作りしてくれたの忘れちゃったの？
あなたマリアの
Oops.
作太郎。
Sorry about that. I'm gonna do the slap of shame. Ah! Ah! Sometimes it actually does hurt when I do that. Ow. Maybe I shouldn't go so hard.
ママに作ってもらったライオンのぬいぐるみだよ。
A fierce, sharp pain struck me. It came from the palm of the hand he was grasping. I instinctively knocked his hand away, and when I looked at my palm, a hole the size of a thumb had opened there, and thick, deep red blood was gushing out. It was a hole so big that I could see through to the other side.
どうしたの？
Saktaro also noticed my wound and panicked. Judging by his reaction, I couldn't understand why my hand had sustained a serious injury. But to my eyes, it felt like I had sustained that injury because he had grabbed my hand. Whether there was malice in him or not, I understood that this child was something that would do harm to me, and he instantly became strange and frightening.
あっちへ行って。あなたなんか知らないわ。作太郎は気持ち悪い下手くそなぬいぐるみでしょ。私は知らないわよ。ママなんかじゃないわよ。あっちへ行って消えて。
Slowly, the base of Saktaro's neck tore in a horizontal line. It gaped open, and the pitch blackness inside him peeked out. There was no gushing of blood, only an endlessly empty blackness. Oh, that's cool. And then, from the inside of the gash, cotton snow poured out, and he slumped over, scattering bits of cotton about. All that remained there was crumpled yellow cloth, and bits of cotton that looked like sticky, crushed cotton candy. A lion, stuffed animal. Without a doubt. They were the remains of the Saktaro stuffed animal I had torn apart on that day, overcome by my emotions. The instant I admitted that, a long, sharp shriek that could rupture an eardrum tore the world apart. Requiem. Like a flood from a broken dam, or like a broken TV, Maria wailed in a high-pitched voice. Maria's voice, which made the ears throb, brought up two emotions. The first was regret. I let my emotions get the better of me and committed a terrible mistake. A mother's desire to kneel down right away, hold Maria's head, cry with her, and apologize. And in fact, I did that right away. I held Maria's head and apologized in tears for what I had done. But Maria didn't stop crying. On the contrary, she rejected me, the one who had torn her closest friend apart, and pushed me away forcibly with both hands. Since I had been on my knees in an unnatural position, I fell backwards easily. Maria scraped together the yellow scraps of cloth and cotton bits, buried her face in them, and cried even more. Watching that, the other emotion welled up. It welled up rapidly, and then burst. I mean, she won't come around even when I apologize, and there's nothing I can do now anyway, and it's all Maria's fault in the first place. It's not Maria's fault. I mean, she can't make any friends because she's forever taken up with this make-believe stuffed animal thing, and that's why she's treated like a weirdo. And you know, this is a good opportunity for instructive guidance. It's not like I was pampered all the time myself. Things eventually break, are stolen, are broken. Even I had toys and treasure stolen, broken, and made fun of, and thrown away by my brothers and sisters and father and mother. But though I might have cried about that, though I might have shed a few tears, not once did I sob like this and trouble my parents, throw a tantrum and get in a terrible mood, pound and kick the floor and make a horrible racket. I always wanted to, but I thought I'd get in more trouble if I did, so I always held it in. It's because I held it in that I was able to become the wonderful adult I am now! Yeah, I have to really disagree with you right there, Rosa. I have to really disagree with you right there. Just because it happened to you doesn't mean you should do it to your daughter. That is flawed reasoning. I think she might figure that out. She might figure that out, and I might have to give her some kudos if she does figure that out, but that doesn't undo what she did. That doesn't undo what she did to Maria. And your comment on how you are a wonderful parent. I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm just going to say this now. You might want to rethink the definition of a wonderful parent, if you actually think you are one, Rosa. Suddenly, I felt something strangely missing. The same feeling as when you use a tool recklessly, and it finally breaks, so that you're left holding only the base. But I hadn't been using a tool. I had only been using my own two hands to hit Maria's head repeatedly. So, I looked at my hands. From my wrists onwards, my hands had snapped off, cracked off, and were gone. Garage coordinator, as though only those parts... Every time the beat drop happens, I'm sorry. That was inappropriate to me for this scene especially. That was inappropriate to me. I'm sorry. As though only those parts of my arms had become ceramic. No, Everything beyond my wrist literally had become ceramic at some point, and broken and fallen. Cracks had formed in them because I had hit Maria too much, and they had fallen off. Look, see? Aren't those my hands there? Lying smashed by my feet? There was no pain, but the shocking sight of both my hands breaking off at the wrist made me scream. Oh.
これでもうマリアを叩けないね。
Ignoring my confusion, Maria said that with a very cold voice. As she slowly moved her hands away from her head, where they had been defending against my barrage.
何よこれ。私の手。何をしたのよマリア。これは何なのよ。何これ。
A black silhouette was suddenly standing behind Maria. It was the silhouette of an adult. Who? Beatrice.
娘の頭を持り絵本をめくる。温かい食事を作ることのできる腕なの。残しても良いかと考
えた。ママはマリアの頭を撫でるより叩く方が多いよ。絵本なんかめくってくれない。ご飯だって作ってくれない。マリアが自分で買いに行くの。でも同じお店に何度も行っちゃいけないし、顔を覚えられてもいけない。おまわりさんに話しかけてもいけない。なんで？どうして？マリアが悪いの？マリアはママに撫でてもらったり、絵本を読んでもらったり、一緒にご飯を食べたりしちゃいけないの？どうして？マリア悪くないよ。マリア悪くない。ママが悪い。ママは一緒に遊んでくれないけど、サク太郎は一緒に遊んでくれた。本も読んでくれた。テレビも見てくれた。一緒にご飯も食べてくれた。ママよりもっともっと大切な友達だったのに。
悪かったと思ってるわ。でも仕方ないでしょ。ママは仕事で忙しいのよ。仕事で。ママの仕事が忙しいのは知ってるでしょ。仕方ないのよ。仕方ない。
そうだ。これは仕方なきこと。そなたの娘が傷つき、心を引き裂かれ、涙に血を浮かべることさえ、これは仕方なきこと。なれば今この場にてこのようなることになるもまた、すべては仕方なきこと。さあマリア、母を名乗った女の言い分は以上だぞ。許せる、否か、無罪か、はたまた有罪か。
許せない。ママは有罪だ。サク太郎にママがしたのと同じ目に合わせてやる。ママを首の縫い目のところから引き裂いて中の綿をぶちまけてやる。
Maria's eyes ominously flashed blue. In that instant, invisible, massive arms stuck their fingernails out and grasped Rosa's entire body tightly. The bones all throughout her body made sounds like twigs being stepped on as they readily cracked and broke. Rosa vaguely understood. The massive arms are probably my own arms from the time I tore Sakataro apart. From a stuffed animal's perspective, my arms must certainly have been this massive. So I could imagine what would happen next. The sharp nails stuck strongly into the base of my neck, and I heard the skin tear with my own ears. Then, watched over by the two witches, Rosa's flesh was split in two, top and bottom. When Sakataro had been torn apart, bits of cotton had flown about like snowflakes. But in Rosa's case, something like thick black tar came out, fifthly flying all over the place. There wasn't even a trace of the red of blood. It was something black, filthy and thick. It was probably what a bloodless, tailless human kept inside their body instead.
This 醜い。なんと汚らわしき中身か。見事であったぞ、マリア。さあどうか。そなたの復讐はこれにて十分か。そなたは母を許せるか否か。無罪か有罪か。
許せない。まだまだ許せない。有罪だ。
Beatrice brandished her pipe wand, and a surge of gold butterflies regenerated Rosa's broken body in an instant.
"一つの命で償えぬほどのそなたの大罪、身をもって知れ。そして自らの深き罪を思い出す。さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。そなたがどれほどの罪を犯したのか。
もしもし、ママなの？ママは何時に帰ってくるの？
ごめんなさいね。今日も仕事が忙しくて泊まりになってしまうの。
またお仕事でお泊まり？ママのお仕事、今日も大変だね。
ごめんね。本当に忙しいの。もうずっと会社に缶詰よ。外の空気も吸えやしないわ。ママの仕事は早く終わらすだけじゃダメなの。より良いデザインを上げないと次から仕事をもらえない大変な仕事なのよ。だからどうしても時間がかかっちゃうの。
うん、分かってるよ。マリア、いい子でお留守番してるから、お仕事いっぱい頑張って早く終わらせてお家に帰ってきてね。
ママのお仕事を分かってくれてありがとう。明日美味しいケーキを買って帰ることを約束するわ。
ケーキいらないよ。ケーキ屋さんに寄って遅くなるより、その分ちょっとでも早くママが帰ってくる方が嬉しい。
大丈夫よ。早く帰ってくるわ。約束する。だから美味しいケーキを2人で食べて、美味しい紅茶を2人で飲んで、一緒に新しい絵本を読みましょう。この間買った狼と羊のパズルで遊びましょうね。2人で一緒に。約束よ。
うん、約束。待ってるね。お仕事頑張ってね、ママ。
She forgot, didn't she?
ほうほう、寂しい話ではあるが、互いを思い合う良き親子愛ではないか。何か問題があるというのか、マリ。そしてローザ。
その約束は私はちゃんと守ったはずよ。次の日の夕方に約束通りケーキを買って、いつもより早い帰宅をしたはずよ。
マリアは知ってたよ。あの日の夕方ね、ママ宛てに着払いの荷物が来たけど、お財布の中のお金が足りなかったから、ママにどうしようって相談したくて会社に電話したの。特別な時以外はかけちゃダメって言われてたけど、ママのお仕事の大切なものだったら悪いしと思って電話したの。
She was not at work. She was.
そしたらママはお休みだって言われた。
She was off somewhere.
その日はずっと前からお休みに決まってて、遠くへ遊びに行っているって言われたの。マリアは知ってたよ。ママが嘘をついてるってずっと知ってた。でもね、作太郎がそうじゃないってマリアを叱ってくれたの。ママは毎日お仕事でとても大変。マリアを放っておいて遊んでるはずなんてないって。ママはお休みって言った人はきっと何か勘違いして言ってしまったんだよって。作太郎がそう言うんだもん。マリアは信じたよ。マリアは信じた。ママ大好き、ママ大好き。もちろんママだってマリアを愛してる、愛してるって。
ええ、私もよ。愛してるわ、マリア。
Is that a hotel room? Rosa let out a deep sigh. Maybe she felt the weight of her words. Then, she set the receiver back on the bedside phone. The dark room made the window-side view of the starry sky on the ground stand out even more beautifully. On the table, in front of that terrace, was a very cold wine cooler. And the one she was enjoying a glass with was gazing at the scene below.
娘さんに旅行って話してないんですか？
行くって言って前にうるさかったんで、以来言わないことにしてるんです。その方が面倒がなくていいんで。
That's not... Okay. I'm just gonna let the game play out, but what the fuck, Rosa?
娘さんが気になるなら無理に日程を組まなくてもよかったじゃありませんか。
でもそれじゃいつまで経っても予定が合わないし。それは気にしないでって言ったでしょ。
The slender, middle-aged man clad in a white robe gave a small sigh. Rosa reacted sensitively to that slight action.
もう娘の話はなしにして。せっかくの上等なワインが台無しよ。
私はあなたに一人の人間としても女性としても魅力を感じています。ですがだからこそあなたの親子の事情に無理を強いてまでこうして時間を割くのは申し訳ないと感じています。
私と娘の事情は気にしないでくださいっていつも言ってるじゃないですか。あなたと二人きりの時に娘の話はしないようにしてるでしょ。電話だって下のロビーでうるさい酔っ払いがバカ笑いしてなければここではかけなかった。
ローザさん、こういう唐突な日程での旅行は娘さんのためにも今後は少し考えませんか？互いの日程があった時だけでいいじゃありませんか。
それじゃ全然日程が合わないじゃないですか。私はいつだって一緒にいたいのに。
それは子供の恋愛の仕方です。大人同士の恋愛はもう少しストイックであるべきですよ。ローザさんと一緒にいられる時間が長く取れないことは僕も寂しいです。ですがその限られた時間と機会で 僕たちは十分に大人の恋愛を楽しめていると思いますよ。
それはもっと娘と一緒にいろと。
That's what most people would want someone to do?
女でなく母でいろということですか？
あなただって望んでいることでしょう。娘さんと一緒にゆっくり過ごしたいとあなただって。僕は逃げません。
I'm sorry.
僕との時間を優先するために娘さんを犠牲にするのは気の毒だと申し上げたいのです。
奥さんとのより戻したんですか？別れるのが嫌になったんですね。
妻の話はしたくない。あなたが娘さんの話をしたくないのと同じです。
子連れの女は面倒だって思ったんでしょう。
そんなこと今までに一度も言ったことはありませんよ。
みんな子連れだと分かると手のひらを返す。あの子の養育費は気にしなくていいからと言ってもみんな手のひらを返す。あなたは娘のことを理解してくれてると思ったのに、やっぱり子連れだと嫌なんですね。
そうは言っていません。ローザさんのことを嫌いになってなどいませんよ。私が言いたいのは娘さんをもっと大事にしなさい。あなた自身もそれを望んでいるはずだ。だから娘さんに嘘をついて自らを傷つけてほしくない。そう言ってるだけなんです。
嘘つき。私のことが面倒になっただけ。そうでしょ。
そんなことは言っていない。
いいえ、わかるの。私にはわかるわ。あの子を理由に何度も捨てられた私だからわかるの。雰囲気でわかるわ。そうよ、あなたもそう。他の男たちと一緒。子連れの女は嫌なのよ。バツイチは嫌なのよ。面倒なのよ。知らない男と作った子供の親になんかなりたくないんでしょ。ええ、そうよね。その気持ちすっごいわかるわ。子連れの男と付き合ったことがあるけど、その気持ちすっごいわかったの。だから娘を理解してくれるあなたとなら一緒になれるって信じたのに。そうよ、あんたなんて邪魔だったのよ。あんたさえいなければ私はとっくに女としての幸せをつかめたのよ。あんたの存在が私の幸せをいつも邪魔するのよ。
Alright! I feel a lot more anger at you now.
私だってあんたなんか産みたくなかったわよ。いいえ、違うわ。あんたと一緒に幸せな家庭を築けたらと思ったわよ。でもあんたが生まれる直前にあいつは蒸発したわ。私と温かい家庭を築くと言って私を騙し、永遠に私の前から消え去ったわ。
Like, fuck that guy! Don't throw your anger onto your child!
残ったのはあんただけ。愛も思い出も何もない。あの男は今どこへ。私との日々を温かな思い出に勝手に変えて新しい恋人に出会ったかもしれない。そして今度こそ幸せな家庭を築けたかもしれない。そして私はあんたがいる。恋も探せない。
Like, fuck that guy! But don't throw it out on your child. God, fuck Rosa.
男は好きに女を渡り歩いて武勇伝気取り。なのに女には、私にはあんたがいる。あんたという重しがいるのよ。あんたのせいで私は恋を探せない。愛が得られない。一人で生きていくしかない。いいえ、それさえも許されてないわ。私には一人で酔いつぶれたい夜さえ許されていない。あんたは誰？何者？私の人生を台無しにして私の新しい人生さえ許してくれないあんたは私の人生の何者なのよ。死ね！消えろ！あんたなんか生まれてきた時から大嫌い。あんたがお腹の中にいた頃から大嫌いだった。
Mother of the Year. The award's gone to you, Rosa. Congratulations, you got Mother of the Year.
それを前向きに受け入れようと頑張って良き母を演じてきたわ。
And I'm not trying to make a joke here. I'm actually really getting upset again. Fuck you, Rosa. Fuck you.
私は頑張った。同世代の女性たちが独身を謳歌し、時に恋に遊び、あるいは愛に結ばれるのを横目に見ながら、私は女と母の二足のわらじを履き続けたわ。その私の苦労を誰がねぎらったの？誰も褒めない、称えない。
Like, I can understand her as a character. I can understand her as a character and I do slightly feel bad for her. But there's no way in hell that any of this should be a reason to treat Maria the way she does. None of this is an excuse for her to lash out her anger onto her own child. That's not forgivable. That is not forgivable at all. That is not forgivable at all.
自業自得。子持ちは嫌。負け組の遠吠え。うぶな小娘がいい？こっちから願い下げよう。ケツの青い若造どもが。必死だった私はさぞかし簡単に落ちる女に見えたろうさ。必死だったわよ。まだまだ恋をしたい年頃の私が日々を仕事と育児で忙殺されていき、このまま老いてこのまま人生を終えるだろうと悟った時、どれほど必死だったか想像もつかないでしょうよ。あんたの本当の父親ももちろん憎いわよ。でも破局を迎えた責任は私と彼に半々だわ。私にも逃げられるだけのしつこさがあったのかもしれない。でもその後の破局は全部あんたのせい。
That's not a cool... What? Blaming Maria for that? I'm sorry, but no. Like, she could be a reason why someone might not want to date you, but making her the one to be at fault? Don't blame your child! Oh my god. Oh my god.
私はあんたにそれをなじったことはあった。ないでしょ。男に逃げられて酔いつぶれたいその次の日があんたの授業参観。泣き晴らした目を厚化粧でごまかして、あんたが的外れな発言をしてクラス中から失笑されてた時の私の気持ちなんてあ たどころか世界中の誰にもわからないでしょうよ。あんたが嫌い、大嫌い。そしてこれまでにあんたを本当に愛したことなんてただの一度もない。
Maria's face was frozen. If words really were blades, Maria's whole body would probably have been stained red with fresh blood by now. Even after getting the power of a witch and resolving herself to take revenge for Sakataro, she couldn't stand these curses coming out of her mother's mouth.
Umineko. ああ、情欲に溺れた女のなんと醜きことか。これがこの女の本性よ。邪悪を極めし千年の魔女のわらわとて見るに耐えぬことこの上なし。ああ、マリアよ、今こそ決別の時。そなたの母を名乗った醜き肉の塊を打ち砕け。そなたの無垢なる魂が親子なる鎖にてこれ以上束縛される意味はなし。自らの魂を自らの手で今こそ解放せよ。そなたは自らを守る牙と爪を今こそ手に入れたのだ。
マリアを苦しめてきた日々を今こそ思い知らせてやる。苦しみの日々を今こそ復讐してやる。
その私を苦しめてきたのはあんたじゃない。私が復讐したいくらいよ。あんたが生まれる前にそうすればよかった。あんたなんか産まなければよかった。消えてしまえ。うわ
As Rosa howled, her upper body was crushed in a way that can only be described by the word splat, and in an instant was turned into something similar to a wrung, blood-stained towel.
潰れてしまえ。許せない、許せない。
クズがふさわしい姿よ。
Even though everything from Rosa's waist downwards was upright as normal, the upper half of her body alone was crushed. The extreme difference was altogether bizarre. Then she fell over, but her body was regenerated the instant she fell.
死になさいよ、あんたが。さあマリア、そなたの怒りと悲しみこの程度のものなのか。今こそ復讐の時、怒りと悲しみの生産の時。ぶつけろ、吐き出せ。そなたの胸に打ち込まれたくさびをすべて押し出し跳ね返せ。
Maria's howl was colored by the ugly sound of flesh and bone being simultaneously crushed, as Rosa, who had foully insulted Maria, lay spread-eagled. A neat, perfectly circular area of her chest was squashed into a pole, as though it had been trampled by an invisible elephant. Her heart and her lungs and her ribs were trampled so mercilessly that they were completely indistinguishable. That might symbolize the pain in Maria's heart up until today.
さあマリア、そなたの気はこれで晴れたの。母の罪が許せる。否か、無罪か、有罪か。
許せない。まだまだ全然許せない。ママは有罪だ。有罪有罪有罪。許せない。
無論だとも。そなたの苦渋の日々、この程度の罰で見合ってなるものか。思い知るがいいローザ。さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。そなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。殺されるためによみがえれ。己が罪を見そぐために殺されよ。何度でも。
Beato waved her wand. Her body was regenerated again. And Rosa sat up, coughing violently in pain. And once again, she spat out curses rejecting Maria.
お前はママなんかじゃない。魔女だ。マリアとママを苦しめる魔女だ。ママの姿をしているからって許さない。許さない。
魔女はあんたでしょ。気持ち悪い本ばかりをね。魔女ごっこにかぶれて消えるのはあんたの方よ。あんたのせいで私まで変わり者扱い。あんたのせいで、あんたのせいで。お前なんか産まなければよかった。お前なんか生まれてくるな。生まれてくる前から大嫌いだったのよ。
Maria screamed. Was she unable to bear her anger and sadness? Or else, was she taken over by an indescribable emotion? It was surely a cry of hopelessness. And yet, this was a reality that had to be accepted. Even Maria knew. She had known that she was thought of as a nuisance. But even though she knew it, she did not believe it. She believed that she was loved by her mother, and all the various events that should have made her doubt this. She did her utmost to interpret it in a positive light, trusting and clinging to her mother's love. But she had no one except her mama. Despite all this, she really did love her mama, and wanted to return to the days when she could still believe that her mama loved her too. So she howled. She brought everything to nothing. She would not accept it. She denied it. She denied the Black Witch making her mother say such things. And the part of herself that couldn't forget that mother. She couldn't deny it. This was reality, fact, truth, the answer. Unmistakable, absolute, reality. Maria turned Rosa into a lump of meat over and over. In the dark world that reflected her heart, over and over it echoed. That ugly sound which would make one want to cover their ears, of flesh and bone being torn apart. Each time, Beatrice revived Rosa. She dragged her back into the world of endless torture, from which even death was no escape. This was the true, deepest hell that the Endless Witch Beatrice could create. However, this world was not made endless by Beatrice's will. But because every time Rosa turned into a lump of meat, Beatrice asked the same question of Maria.
気は晴れたか、マリア。そなたの怒りは母を許せるか。
許せるものか。許せるものか。許さない。許さない。マリアの苦しみのすべてを教えてやる。もっともっと教えてやる。まだまだ足りない。全然足りない。 しみがどうしても消せないの。
あんたなんか大嫌い大嫌い。
Again and again, she revived her. Again and again, she returned her to a lump of meat. In all kinds of ways, she crushed her, smashed her, beat her, and tore her to bits. Flying blood splatter and flesh by now had turned the once pitch-black world into a mix of red and black. Maria's anger was still not settling down. It was as though she was disgorging all the rage she had suppressed from the time of her birth until today. If that was poison to her heart, if all that was poison to her heart, then would the repeated murder of her mother purify her soul? Could these pointless atrocities save her soul even just a little bit? This endless torture might have started serving as a slight diversion from her sad, unreverted life. After all, it seemed that she'd finally been able to regain her smile.
面白い。マリアの不幸の根源め。面白い。私の痛みがこの程度ではないことを。どうしたの？もう笑わないの？笑ってみせろよ。
Half of her skull collapsed. Eyeballs flew out, and black cranial fluid gushed. Fragments of teeth scattered.
ほら、よみがえりなよ。笑ってみせなよ。ほら、ほら。
Her whole chest, along with her ribs, turned inside out, spewing her filthy innards everywhere around her. All of them writhed, looking like some kind of foul creature.
ほらほらほら。よみがえって。まだ笑える？まだ笑える
Rosa couldn't let out a laugh anymore, but her face was still laughing. It was covered with a twisted laugh, which was filled with a malice that rejected her unwanted daughter. I erased that laughing voice. Next, I'll erase that laughing face. I'll erase it, I'll crush it, I'll tear it to bits!
笑えよ。笑ってみせてよ、ママ。
Whoa! 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 This is a perfect representation of what the scene really is. Holy shit! Holy shit! Wow! Yeah, this CG perfectly represents just how insanely disturbing this scene is, and how horrific and sad it is. Holy shit. Oh my god. Oh my god. Damn. Damn. Oh my god. This CG, I'd say, is probably becoming one of my favorite CGs. Just because, like, not just because of how it was drawn, but the way it fully just immerses the reader into what this scene truly is like. This scene is a disturbing scene. It's a sad scene. That's definitely shown in this image. Holy crap. I know this is a very disturbing image to look at for a long time, and I apologize for having this appear on screen for a prolonged period of time, but I have to say I really, really enjoy this image. I really enjoy this image because of the meaning it's bringing across. It's definitely a grotesque image, and I do apologize for showing it on the screen for quite a long time, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy this image because of the meaning it has.
どうしたのママ、起きてよ、絵本を読んでよ、お散歩に行こうよ。愛してるって言ってよ、次の日曜日の約束をしようよ。お買い物に行こう、映画に行こう。そしてその約束をどうせ破るんだよ。楽しいねママ、楽しいね。マリアは今ママと遊んでるんだね。
そうだ、そなたは今母と遊んでいるのだ。じゃれているのだ。どうか今の感情は怒りでも悲しみでも苦しみでもないはず。
そうだね、わかるよベアトリーチェ。私は今すっごく楽しいよ。ママと遊んでるんだもん。すっごく楽しい。そしてママを何度も何度も殺してるのに魔法一つで好きなだけ生き返らせられる。おもちゃは壊したら直せないから大事にした。でも治るおもちゃなら何度でも壊したい。でも作太郎は治らないんだね。治せないんだね。作ったママが産んだママが認めないから。私もママに認められてないんだね。だから壊れたマリアももう治らないんだね。楽しくなったらなぜかママが許せる気がしてきたの。ねえベアト、これはとっても不思議な感情。どうしてマリアはママを許せる気持ちになってきたの？
それは生き死にを自由にできる力を得た魔女のみがたどり着く達観の境地。いつでも殺せる。必要ならよみがえらせ、面倒ならまた殺せばいい。それをいつでも指一本鳴らすだけでできることを知ったなら、人の世のざれ言などその全ては聞き流すに等しい虫の声いいかよ。そなたに母を許そうという感情が芽生えたのは、そなたが母の愛に目覚めたからではねえ。そなたが今こそ真の魔女の世界の入り口に立ったからだ。ようこそマリア、深淵なる、そして甘美なる魔女の世界へ。
なったんだ。マリアはもうマリアじゃない。まだ見習いかもしれないけれど人間の世界を超えた。私はもう 原初の魔女見習いマリアなんだ。もう私は何も悔しくない、悲しくない。ママ許してあげるよ。きっと私はママを許せる。もうちょっとしたら許せると思うの。だって魔女だから。
Whoa! Maria probably would forgive her mother eventually, after brutally murdering her countless times. Generously. Damn. Are we going back to Rokenjima?
でけえな今の落雷は。近いんじゃねえか
みたいだね。いくつになっても落雷にはビクッとさせられるね。
Battler was looking at the dark night through a crack in the curtains. Every once in a while, a pale white lightning bolt would light up the sky, and he seemed to be enjoying it. Well, you might be the only person right now who is enjoying his time right now. Well, Maria seems to be enjoying herself. Well, I'm not for sure if I should really say that, though.
お？なんだよ、バトラが騒がしくしてるからマリアが起きちゃったじゃねえか。ごめんなマリア、バトラが騒がしくて。
なんだよ俺のせいかよ。悪いなマリア、寝てていいぞ。おやすみな。
Maria was looking a bit hazy, with drowsy eyes. She was probably still half asleep, and couldn't think straight.
おー、もういい。寝ない。
いいから寝てろって。まだ寝ぼけてるぜ。
寝ぼけてない。
なんだよ、もろに寝ぼけてるじゃねえか。寝てろ寝てろおい。
寝ぼけてない、寝ぼけてない。よせってバカバトラ。もう寝起きのこの機嫌を悪くするなんてバカだな。寝ぼけてない、寝ぼけてないの。
分かってるよマリアちゃん、寝ぼけてなんかないよ。だから落ち着いて。
Maybe it was because of her dubious mental state after waking up, but Maria suddenly threw a tantrum. In Battler's mind, he had only been teasing her a little bit, so he was taken aback by this extreme overreaction. George hugged her and held her head, trying to calm her down, but Maria's tantrum wasn't quelled easily. Battler and Jessica were trying to push the blame on each other, saying, "It's your fault. It's your fault too."
ほら二人とも静かにして。ジェシカちゃん、ポットにまだお湯があったよね。お茶でも入れてあげてくれる？落ち着いたマリアちゃん。
It looked like her tantrum was dying down bit by bit, but she was still glaring at Battler, who had made fun of her with sharp eyes.
バトラー君もふざけて言っただけなんだよ。マリアちゃんが寝ぼけてるなんて思ってないよ。だから落ち着いてね。
George noticed Maria was staring at Bowler with incredible eyes. And, despite having just displayed all that emotion, she laughed in a small voice. Instead of a laugh, it seemed more like she was muttering while savoring, or else counting each he. As though each time she said he, she was making something brutal happen over and over. Oh. George felt something creepy for a split second, but he wasn't able to notice the madness that, for a brief moment, peeked out of the depths of the girl's eyes. After remaining spaced out for a short period of time, Maria stopped her bizarre quiet laugh and pushed George's arm aside, as though telling him to let go.
Oh, 許す。
そうマリアちゃんは偉いな。バトラ君、マリアちゃんが許してくれたよ。仲直りして。
はあ。
悪いな、からかって。許してくれ。
ほら、マリア。仲直りの印にカフェオレ作ってやったぜ。砂糖いっぱい入ってるから甘いぜ。いらない。でも許すよ。魔女だからね。
One more time, Maria laughed in a creepy, quiet voice. But it was only for a very short time, so Battler and Jessica didn't think much of it. They decided to think that, probably. It had only looked that way for an instant, when a flash of lightning had lit up her cheek with a pale, white light. Then, they heard the sound of loud, hasty footsteps rushing towards them from the hall. It was already about past 10 at night. A time that could safely be called late at night. Hearing footsteps like that at this time was not very peaceful. Then, along with a clearly disquieting and wild series of knocks, they heard Goda's and Kurosawa's voice. That clearly told them that this was an abnormal situation.
お子様方、いらっしゃいますか？いらっしゃいますか？ゴーダでございます。
熊沢でございますよ。ご無事でございますか、皆さん。
You know, congratulations to them for running right to the children. Congratulations.
どうしたものやら、どうしたものやら。
When George opened the door, the two of them tumbled in, sopping wet. It looked like they had dashed here from the mansion without an umbrella.
どうしたんだよ、二人とも。何があったんだ？
それが親方様が、旦那様が、皆様方が。
Glass break, isn't it? Whoa! Dance with Moonruns! Wait! Why would he play that song for 3 seconds? Dungeon. Huh. Dungeon? Interesting. Huh. Maria Ushirimiya. That scene we just saw there was probably one of the most important scenes that we've seen from Maria's point of view. Maria, internally, was lashing out at Rosa. And that scene we just saw was Maria's internal battle against her mother. This is just a theory, so she could have been, torturing her mother in the meta, but if I go through the psychological theory, Maria, after all the things that Rosa has done to her, is internally just had enough, and in her head, she is constantly attacking, torturing, and killing her mother, and repeating the cycle with the witch Beatrice. This is a psychological theory because that previous scene, it might sound like I'm saying that it was all in her head, for which that's not what I'm going for. That's not what I'm going for. What I'm going for is, that scene is a representation of Maria's true feelings of Rosa. That was a representation of her feelings on her own mother. With the anger inside her about what happened to Sakataro, and all the loneliness that she has experienced under her mother, Maria internally has been just had enough. So inside her head, to make her feel better, she's just thinking of a scenario where she could finally attack her mother over all the things that she has done to her over the years. This is a dark theory about Maria, but even though she may love her mother, there is a part of her that despises her for all the things that she's done, which is perfectly normal, considering what Maria has gone through, and at such a young age. So internally, that scene we just saw there might have been Maria's representation of the stored up anger she also shares for her mother. She does love her mother. Maria does love her mother. But internally, she does have a deep hatred as well. That scene we just saw there was a representation of what Maria thinks of Rosa and what she truly wanted to do with her anger. That was just a scene showing the hate that Maria can have for Rosa. And yeah, it kind of can also show that in that scene as well, after she had that little, thought process, when she said, "I forgive you" to Balor, after staring at him for quite a long time, and laughing like she was counting. Maybe internally in her head, she was giving Balor a similar treatment to Rosa, as well as Jessica. Even though I don't understand why she would go after Jessica. Though there might be a reason. But right in Maria's head right now is just a representation of her anger at the world. Especially towards her mother and the life that she's lived. Maria can be a happy and loving girl, but also at the same time, she does hold emotions of anger and sadness. She may try to hide it, she may try to keep it bottled up, but that scene right there are all the emotions that she is bottling up within her. This is a definite dark psychological theory, and it was just something that I just wanted to say because that's an interpretation that one could have for the scene. Like, that's an interpretation I thought up of while reading that scene. Which totally describes the disturbing nature of the scene. Of course, there is a lot of truth in that scene. Like, it's truthful that Rosa is abusing Maria, and she is neglecting Maria, and she is lying to Maria. Those are all true. But some of the things that happened in that, mind space may not be as true as Maria is interpreting them, if we're going by a more loving theory of Rosa. Rosa may have more complicated feelings for Maria than just full-on despising her, if we go by this theory that it was all what Maria thinks of her mother and what she wants to do with her. That scene right there is just Maria's interpretation of her hate. So Rosa may not think the things that she was thinking, so I can be less angry at Rosa if I go with that theory of that was how Maria is interpreting her mother. Though of course, that also does not deny that Rosa is doing the things that she's doing. Like, that does not deny that Rosa is neglecting and abusing Maria. That does not deny that at all. But her saying the mean things to Maria as she was being tortured, that could have been Maria's interpretation of Rosa from what she sees of her with her thoughts of hate. Maria, I have to say, is a very interesting character to look at, and I hope that the answer arcs, bring in more sides of Maria, and it helps, explain more through the mind of Maria Ushiramiya. Sorry if I'm stumbling with my words here. But, yeah, this chapter 4 definitely is letting us peer into the mind of Maria a lot more, and I have to say, I really like this. I really like this. Whew. Wow. Wow. This may be premature to declare this, but this might take the #1 spot on my top 100 visual novels list. Even though I just added Mitagoroshi to that list the night before. Yes, I'm filming this video right after I filmed the last Mitagoroshi episode, like the day afterwards. It's almost 11 o'clock at night now, 23 o'clock. But yeah, this might be premature to say this, but I'm gonna be honest here, I am liking this 4th game a lot more than every visual novel that I've read so far, so I might put episode 4 at #1 as soon as I'm done reading. Unless the ending is super disappointing of this chapter, I'll probably put episode 4 at the #1 spot. This is a premature announcement, and I might change my mind. But holy crap, like every storyline with Maria and Angie, I have to give a kudos to Rikishi. They're really well written, and yeah, I have to say this now. I'm probably going to give episode 4 the #1 position on my top 100 visual novels list. I might be saying that for the next 4 chapters after this one as well, but as of right now, yes, I can definitely say that if this game were to end right here, it would have been #1 on my favorite visual novel list. Well, if it ended right here, I would be kind of upset by the storyline being cut short, so yeah, I hope the game doesn't end too soon. But at the same time, I really like episode 4. Episode 4 is amazing. Wow.
Okay.